As far as settings goes, we'll be using those. So it's quite standard really. What you have to keep in mind is we're playing on Grand Admiral. And that's basically it. Hopefully nothing bad will happen. Alright, so our first deck will be mainly dedicated to Conquest. So we'll take the Corvette one and the Energy one. The Shield one will be able to get through reverse engineering, and it's not much of a deal to begin with. So this is quite a great start. As you can see, we have only one way to get into our systems, it will seem. We'll have to check down south, but it's very likely there is only one access to our main systems, which is quite good for a game that is. We will also do the little crime deal trick. We'll still be using the Enforcer because he'll be doing some unity, which is not something you want to discard early on. Like, later on we'll probably have to get rid of it, but better have him do some unity than be wasted in crime and produce even more pops wasted to crime. Crime is not a big deal in this version of Stellaris, but you want to avoid it early on because it can quickly take away a lot of pops from you. Alright, as you can see, the supremacy tradition happened quite fast, which is good for us, and it's mainly thanks to Exalted Priesthood. And yeah, earlier I said we are going to go down Conquest, which means we'll heavily focus upon alloys. Right now I made the mistake of doing one mining station earlier instead of doing an alloy foundry, but you can go for either first, according to what you prefer. It will be better to go for the alloy first though. Unfortunately, we didn't get the industrious leader. Industrious scientists are very efficient in spiritualist empires because they're basically what guarantees you to get robots much more reliably. So we'll take this one instead. Maniacal is still a good thing. And we'll probably send him towards the south to make sure it's actually a dead end before considering sending him up north. So here is our first planet. Because we are going to go arm on Conquest, we'll probably not go for that planet. Colonization is a thing we will only consider later on in the game once we have secured the neighboring systems. The youth.
Situation log
so
updated.
the youth are the one that gives you that cryo relic, which decreases your ship upkeep and gives you +1 pop per colony. Clearly it's clearly not the best precursor to have, but it's not bad nevertheless. A not well-known issue as authoritarian and more importantly stratified economy is the fact that we get above 30 crime quite fast, which forbid us from using the enforcer for something else early on. It's a bit of a shame, but stratified economy is will be a very efficient tool to control our planets later on after Conquest. So, yeah. Oh boy, I'm not gonna lie, but when I saw this one coming from the south, I was very scared. Fortunately, they're just junkies, so not much of a deal. We could improve them in later patches. I hope we could. Here you have a choice between two traditions. The one to the right is the one you want because it gives you access to cheaper starbase. And cheaper starbase are very... holy shit, what the fuck is this? Wow. Now you have a Dyson sphere in your back door. Guess it's fine. Very fine. Did I mention we were going for Conquest? Because we are most definitely going for Conquest. Here, because we are using militarized economy, we'll be replacing our civilian industry for even more alloys. Starnet must not be trafficked with, so we'll have to muster every bit of alloy we can in order to stand a chance. Speaking of which, right now I'm trying to aim for star clusters in order to find the enemy empires and take them over as fast as possible. That is one lovely system. I hope we'll be able to make good use of it early on. So here you have it, your first Xeno. You may have noticed, but there was one habitable planet in this system, but for some reason it's not shown on the galactic view. That is because it's a primitives. Primitives do not show on the galactic view. Something to keep in mind. So now we'll be doing these shipyard tricks I showcased in some of my videos. It's basically to save some upkeep. It's not much of a deal, I suppose, but it's something I found out by myself and I like to do it every now and then. This cursed moment when I realized I fucked up. The one advanced AI I put in the game, and it's my neighbor, and it's very close to cutting me off from the rest of the galaxy. It's going to be a very interesting fight, let me tell you that. So, what do you do when you see such overwhelming forces on your front door? Well, you must, first and foremost, study its surroundings. We don't know much yet, but you'll see that we have several key components that will literally carry our fights later on. You can also realize how important it was to pick this tradition earlier, because we'll need some star bases versus this AI. Cheaper star bases are great. if you manage to find a choke point for the enemy to go through. And in this particular scenario, we got ourselves a very good choke point. Shield nullification is a thing you want to exploit as much as possible, if you can afford it. Here it was mainly luck, and what an incredible luck. If we're dismissing the fact that I spawned next to the one thing that can literally ruin this entire gameplay. Yes. There is also another point I want to discuss. We may have a choke point, but on its own, it may not save the war. What we could do, however, is take over the primitives in the next choke point and make the enemy fleet bombard them. It's sadic, it's evil, but at least one of their fleets is occupied bombing one of my worlds instead of cruising for my choke point. This is most likely what we'll do. It would seem the Tidemaster also detected the urgent situation at hand. This threat will be quite useful for us. And also another Xenos.
Technology secured.
As you can see, we can grab this system right now if we decide to cancel one Corvette. Unfortunately, it will put us in right next to the border of our enemy, which may trigger an attack earlier on. It's something I've been considering to do and just wait a bit on the border to see if he was going to expand, and then I decided to just expand myself anyway, just to grab some time. As you can see, this is a very concerning matter. He has 81 pubs, 5 world, and is overwhelming in everything. Not only that, but he has met no Xenos, which means we're probably on our own here. So another empire, hopefully it will prove useful versus the advanced AI, one way or another. It seems to have revived another empire, which at the time I didn't notice, and you will see it will play a major role later on. Let the indoctrination of those primitives begin. We don't know their name yet, but soon they'll join us. Well, it will seem they decided to choose death. Avakoenea is no more. Now there is only the tides of fate. The primitives will prove quite useful. Their name are the Vu. and they will be one of the major assets of his empire. Naturally, because they're quite, let's say, upset about this balance of power, we have unfortunately to enslave them for a while. Oh, this could prove very useful. This could be one of the gas ships, a cruiser, a free cruiser. It will be so useful for our empire. We'll make great use of it if we somehow manage to get it. As you can see, right now I'm already feeling for the worst. I've been putting armors on a lot of my ships, just to make sure I can make a hold on Stellaris. It will probably not be enough though. As you can see, the AI is still unfriendly to us, which means it won't claim us yet, but it won't last, and we'll have to sort this out very fast. The Northern Empire, however, seems much more promising for us, since it requires a much smaller dedicated force to eradicate them and to control them. In the inverse order, taking enemy homeworld early on is of course invaluable, and authoritarian allows for quite an even better control of those worlds thanks to their stratified economy and their very happy rulers, which bump stability very high. This does require often to use slaves instead. The Time Master has finally given edge to its armies. It is up north that we will march. It is up north that will enforce our first spiritual war, a crusade of brutality and faith. As the situation seemed certain, the Divine graced us with a mighty cruiser. This will be our flagship, a mighty cruiser armed with medium and large weaponry, which means it will hit hard and it will easily finish off the enemy corvettes. It will prove most useful. But for now, we are lacking times, so we'll not wait for it too long and go onward. Unfortunately, even the Time Master realizes that some wars cannot be won that easily.
We have declared war
So
to
we'll
safeguard our
just
interests.
accept the humiliation for now. We will remember this, and they will pay dearly for this affront. The humiliation grants us a 10-year peace, which can only really be used once before they start claiming your stuff, for a mere minus 10% happiness, and a debuff on influence that isn't even actually programmed. So it's a win-win situation, especially against such overwhelming empire. Now it is time to go
We
to
have
war.
declared war to
Because
safeguard
plunder is
our
such a bad
interests.
casus belli, we'll just use immediate. As you can see, a single High Priest can keep a world stability quite high, despite some nasty debuffs on it.
Enemy presence exposed.
Of course, this is also true for Administrator, but High Priests are much more valuable than Administrators. Our first engagement went very well. We barely had any losses, and it would seem that our enemy does not have much to answer us yet. We'll have to take the opportunity. Here you can see I've made the mistake of engaging this station without my PD fleet, which will cost me at least one corvette, I think. It's something you must try to avoid as much as possible when you try to go for early rushes.
Construction complete.
About 130 is usually what you want as armies to rush down any homeworld. Unless it's an advanced start, then you may want a bit more than that. The main reason is Literated usually do not get much above 110 or 120. So keep that in mind.
Attacking enemy vessels.
So if you thought I was in deep trouble before, wait and see. These are fanatic peripherals, and they actually went to war with this very empire. Which means we'll have to, let's say, speed up. Nevertheless, I cannot afford to lose more corvettes, so I'll send some back to the base. And as far as Ashenburg goes, we'll probably go for technological ascendancy, phase 2 real alternative. This war was quite expeditive, thanks to the decimator, I suppose. But nevertheless, we stand victorious. Soon we'll have to deal with this threat up north, in addition to the advanced AI down south, which will prove to be quite difficult. Because conquered mobs are such a mess to deal with, we're simply going to enslave them to make sure they won't go against the will of the tide. And we'll also deactivate most of the buildings on this newly conquered world, because we won't be using them for now, but we will use them of course. And that's basically it. So now I must find an outro. Let's find something random, slap it on the screen, and that should do. See ya.